Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and we're going to talk about Masters of the Universe, and we're going to talk about Masters of the Universe Revelation, the brand new 2021 Kevin Smith Netflix John, and I think it's really important to understanding what's coming with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition next, because the template is there, right? The Masters of the Universe is a 1980s highly successful, grandmothered mega IP, mega intellectual property. Now, when we're saying mega IPs, what do we mean there, right? It's really important. So let me give you the summary of this video real quick. What I think Masters of the Universe Revelation shows us is, and this is very important. We need to be very careful about this stuff. What Masters of the Universe Revelation shows is that the owners of an intellectual property, a well-beloved intellectual property, can absolutely turn over control of intellectual property to a creator that 100% detests the source material, and here's the new learning. The obvious logical outcome of handing an intellectual property, a much beloved, an owner handing a much beloved intellectual property, handing control over to a creator who detests that thing. Logically, that's going to end in tears and flames, but that's wrong. I think that's what we're learning with Masters of the Universe. That is wrong. It does not spell the doom of the property, right? And a lot of grognards and a lot of like non-woke people are like, get woke, go broke. That's it sounds great as a bumper sticker, right? It's just like, oh, it's so easy to say and it rhymes, but it's wrong. And one of the things I think I really want to do with my channel is, you can go out there and you can hear 25 people saying, I'm going to give you a little bit of information, and it's only good for you and my table and maybe no one else, and it's the same thing you'll hear on 50 other channels. If I have an opinion like that, I keep it myself. I don't waste your time with them, right? So I want to talk about the things where people think a thing is one way, and it's the reality is it's another way. And the reason, and this too, is we essentially live in a non-logical world. We do live in a world that is bound by logic, but our world is so complicated now, right? Like, 1960, right? Perception is that, how many genders are there? 2, male, female, right? 2021, how many genders are there? Is there 3? Is there 7? Is there 35? I don't know. And actually, I would tell you right now, I think somebody who had studied this for the past 15 years and studied gender identity for 15 years might not be able to tell you how many genders there are. Probably would not be able to tell you how many genders there are today, right? We live in a very, very non-logical world, right? Or actually, we live in a world that is logical, but the layers of complexity are so high that it doesn't equate. and it seems very non-logical. I mean, we are just living in a new era of complexity that is incredibly high. So, it's just, I just want you to be aware of that. Like, so it seems non-logical. It is logical, but the complexity is so high that it's incredibly difficult to actually track what's happening. That's the reality of it. And that's what's happening with this Masters of the Universe Revelation, right? So now, why do we need to study this for Dungeons & Dragons? Well, there are properties that show Dungeons & Dragons' possible future, right? And this is definitely one of them. This is a much beloved intellectual property, same as D&D, right? Who has been given over, well, and the first level, of Hollywood treatment is give the content to creators who do not love and do not understand, right? The new level is give the content, give the much beloved intellectual property to creators that absolutely despise the original content, right? That's the new model. And there's a lot of grognards out there. There's a lot of non-woke people who are like, get woke, go broke. And I'm here to tell you that's 100% wrong. And I think there's a lot of people who want to just shut their brain off and go, well, these are small groups that want this, and it's going to go out of business, right? And I'm telling you, this is fundamentally wrong. And we need to look at this because this is our very clear and very quickly approaching future with Dungeons and Dragons, right? And the reality is, so what happened this weekend with Masters of the Universe Revelation? Well, a ton of people watched it, right? And a ton of people watched it who did not like a single episode and who felt it was a complete betrayal of the original beloved intellectual property, which is He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. But they watched it like crazy. Watched every episode. It went further. So basically there was a very conservative group on YouTube, and they have been covering this very in depth. And so I listened to their coverage, and they actually had back and forth with Kevin Smith on this on Twitter. And they had on a dude who is not just a toy shop owner, but a dealer who aggregates across multiple toys. This guy is a very high level toy expert, right? And he talked for 30 minutes straight about how much he absolutely despised Masters Universe Revelation. And then he talked about the toys, and he said, well, guess what? With Star Wars, people didn't like the movies and they didn't buy the toys. That's no longer the case. The toy companies have learned, and the guy said, and he said it sheepishly, embarrassed to say it at the end. I appreciate his honesty. He bought every single action figure, dropped over $300 for every action figure of a show he despises, right? And he said, the reason I got them is the action figures don't carry generally the message of the show. He-Man looks like He-Man, Skeletor looks like Skeletor, and these figures actually are better crafted than half the things in my collection. And these, I will open these up and I will put these action figures right on my shelf next to the other ones. And I was like, wow, right? And so the other thing is the whole get woke, go broke, very clearly wrong now, right? Maybe it was true for 5 minutes. It ain't true now, right? Just pay attention, right? Don't turn your brain off. I think that's one of the themes of my channel is don't turn your brain off. Don't, if something's comfortable to believe, you can't keep believing it. I know it's comfortable, right? But you have to think, right? How do you explain the critters? The critters are incredibly woke, right? And Matthew Mercer ain't going broke, right? He is continuing to move forward, and he is growing his brand with very, very woke content, and just laughing and kicking in the stones the idea of get woke, go broke, right? He's getting rich all the way to the bank on incredibly woke content, right? And so this whole idea that if you give a much beloved intellectual property to people who absolutely have a burning contempt for it, that it will just disappear and go out of business and it'll never exist again, is just fundamentally wrong. It's not correct. It is a misunderstanding of the business realities of today. The other issue is people are like, well, if people don't like the show, they won't buy the toys and they won't buy the merch, and these companies will go out of business. And I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, are you paying attention? These much beloved intellectual properties, they don't have one deal, right? Kevin Smith is just one deal in 20. He-Man ain't going anywhere, right? If people are upset by this, we'll get another He-Man show on another streaming service 2, 3, 5 years later, right? And that's the issue, is people think these much beloved IPs, they have nostalgia, and the power of it is absolutely incredible. The power is shocking. How much people who love these much beloved IPs, how much just quick, swift kicks in the stones they will take, in order to get, in order to continue to be close to that thing, right? And and so this idea that I can't help. I'm looking at it. I'm seeing Kevin Smith. Man, he had everybody talking about that show. So we very well may end up in a future where Dungeons and Dragons is in the hands of people who absolutely despise it, that doesn't mean it's going to go away. That doesn't even mean it will fail. And to think that is just not paying attention to reality. What do you think? Do you think that that there is a very possible future where Dungeons and Dragons could live with creators who despise it? I think there is. Love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider like, subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.